Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and I wanted to make a quick little video comparing two pens that actually I predominantly use with my Supernote, and that is the kind of the stock pen, I guess, if you will. This is the Supernote kind of heart of metal uh, white pen, and then I have my Samsung Tab S7 pen, and I actually like using this pen so much that I actually bought one just for this because I was borrowing the one from my tablet, and I kind of want to leave that one with the tablet, so I got an extra one from Samsung. And the nice thing about these is that they're pretty darn cheap. Like, I think Samsung had this on sale for, I want to say, like 30 bucks, and I think it was like 20, a little less than that with like the EDU discount. So for that price, I thought it was pretty good. And I've kind of actually have been using them off and on together just to kind of see, and I don't know, try to see which one do I like better. And ultimately, I think they both have their pros and cons. I mean, ultimately, if I had to pick only one, I guess I'd probably stick with the Supernote one, and that's mainly because of the tip. So for writing, this one is better because it's louder. So you can kind of hear when you make contact with the paper, where this one is kind of a softer tip. You don't hear contact. It's like silent. It's almost like wearing, you know, slippers and wearing, dress shoes. So because you can hear that when you hear, you can hear the contact, so kind of when your pen makes contact. So you can kind of really write much faster with this pen because of that. So it lets you kind of write kind of without thinking, if that makes sense. So I can kind of write just by kind of how organically it would. So you can kind of hear that clicking, so you can kind of psychologically tell when I'm lifting and connecting with the pen, where this one, you don't get that, which means you have to kind of focus more because when you're making contact. But the one thing about the Samsung pen that I like is that this button works. So to erase, so this makes it super easy. So actually, so what I found myself doing so far is, if I am, let me zoom in a little bit more. If I am just writing more for like work where I gotta kind of be quick, I use this pen. This is kind of like my go-to pen. So this one I can kind of write quick. See the fox jump over the fence. So it's kind of a quick, easy way to jot because, like I said, I can focus more on my meeting, or if I'm watching like a PowerPoint. This one lets me write without looking at the screen. So I would say it's the biggest strength. Write without looking at the screen. So that's what I would say is the biggest advantage of this one. Where do I use a Samsung? I use a Samsung more for doodling or drawing, because then if I'm like strictly just focused on the task at hand, I'm not my attention isn't kind of between this and like a meeting where I'm just kind of, either making personal notes or really doodling. So for doodling, it makes makes it much easier because it's a softer tip, it's quieter, so it kind of, makes it a little easier to write, or I'm sorry, draw. And if you make a mistake, it's so much easier just to go in here and restart it. So if I'm trying to draw, a car, and if I make a mistake, so it makes it much easier to start all over. So that's kind of my quick comment on, which pen do I use. I personally think that the Samsung pen is much better for kind of doodling, non-serious work. I think the softer tip does make shading a little easier because you can kind of get in there a little easier. It's this one's a little more rigid, no noisier. Not that it's bad, but it's like just a little more noisier. So ultimately, that's kind of how I use these pens. If I'm doodling, I like to use a Samsung one. If I am working, writing predominantly, I use that pen. So it's not to say that this pen can't do it all. I appreciate the erasing part of this. It makes it so much easier. Although now that this one introduced the two finger erasing, that makes it much easier again. But that's kind of just a quick demo of the two pens and how they compare. This one's obviously heavier, kind of feels more sturdy. This feels almost like a pencil, very light. And as far as writing with this one, it's not bad either. See the fox jump over the fence. See the fox jump over the fence. And I have horrible handwriting, so that's just how I write. But if we want to look at some kind of latency, I think it's about the same. I don't think one is better than the other. Pressure sensitivity, they both kind of lack in that. So they really write similar. I think what it comes down to really is the biggest difference, I would say, is going to be the tips. That's going to be your biggest difference. This has a very hard ceramic tip. Obviously, it'll probably last forever. It's a little noisy when you write, but I think noisy in a good way, because you can kind of then hear when you're making contact with the paper, or the tablet I should say, where this one has a softer, this is almost like a rubber type tip, which means it's going to wear off pretty quickly because of its softness, but you don't hear yourself writing, so it's a much quieter, kind of a smoother experience with it. So for me, I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd probably take that one, because for writing I think it's better. But I do think this one is good for drawing. So if you want to get a second pen, this would be a good one to get for doodling and drawing, especially at the button right here, works for erasing, makes it erasing even quicker. Before, it was a huge advantage before they added the gesture erasing. So now that they added the gesture erasing, this one's not bad. But before, you always had to go to the toolbar. And actually, speaking of which, a quick comment is on the toolbar. So I know I had talked about, let me put it back up here. I talked about being a lefty, and this toolbar getting in my way. And a viewer commented and said that you can actually move it, which I didn't realize, and he was right, you can move it. Now the only thing is you can't move it like I had hoped to the middle. It won't move there. What it does, you can move it like this. So this way it's out of the way over here, but I would still prefer to have it up here, just not here. But if you see, if I try to put it up here, it still goes back there. So unfortunately, you still can't have the toolbar up here and more to the center. It just won't let you. So what I've done to combat that is I actually keep it down here now. So that way I'm not using up a line, and it's more out of the way. So this is kind of where I keep it, my toolbar now. But yeah, short video, so I'll wrap it up. Just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of another pen to consider if you want, this pen's kind of pricey if you try to buy it by itself. This one, if you find it on sale, I think I paid like $27, $28 with tax, so pretty good deal. So yeah, any questions, let me know, and thanks for tuning in. Catch you in the next one.